I'm sure that
That was the scene in the small town of West Texas. April 17th, a fire and subsequent blast killed 14 and destroyed or damaged nearly 60 homes in the town. Many of the dead were first responders who were called to the fire at the West Fertilizer Company plant. The tragedy of West Texas was all but lost in the shadow of the Boston Marathon bombing that week. But on Thursday, President Obama visited West, and he had these words of comfort for those who lost loved ones.
And to the families and neighbors grappling with unbearable loss, we are here to say you are not alone. We may not all live here in Texas, but we're neighbors too. We're Americans too.
Mike Elk is the labor reporter for In These Times magazine. He's been covering the aftermath of the plant explosion. I'm glad you could join me for a few minutes today. For folks who haven't been following the story as closely as you, how did it turn so deadly?
Well, it turned so deadly because there was ammonium nitrate in the plant. Indeed, a story by Reuters magazine pointed out that there was 1,300 times the amount of ammonium nitrate in the plant. 1,300
times?
Of what was illegally allowed without being registered. And if they had registered, they would be required to put in certain safety implementations. Now, this plant had no fire alarms, no sprinklers, no shutoff valves, and most importantly, no blast walls that are legally required around the plant. And the blast walls would have prevented the explosion from destroying nearby homes and schools.
How was that allowed to happen at that plant, and how was it allowed to go on for so long?
Well, there's simply not a lot of oversight. There were 7 different agencies, governmental agencies, tasked with inspecting this plant. But only 2 of those agencies, Department of Homeland Security and OSHA, are tasked with inspecting the plant for explosive risk. Department of Homeland Security had no idea that there was ammonium nitrate like that in this plant, so they never inspected there. OSHA is so underfunded that the last time this plant was inspected was in 1985. So this plant has never been inspected by OSHA in my lifetime, to give you an idea of how weak the regulation is here.
It's startling when you hear it, it's startling when you read it, but it's even more startling when you stop to think that there are probably other plants like that in this country.
Indeed, there was a fire today at a Chevron chemical plant in Port Arthur, Texas. Several were injured. So workplace accidents happen a lot. Indeed, 4,600 Americans die a year on the job. As Secretary Hilda Solis puts it, 13 Americans a day go to work and they just don't come home.
President Obama, again, he was there this week. He made some remarks. You wrote in your column Thursday, though, that the president made no mention of worker safety in those remarks. You said in part, quote, "Without the president actively calling for a solution, workplace safety advocates remain pessimistic that anything will get done in Congress to address the problem." What are the chances, Mike, that closer attention will be paid to these smaller facilities handling potentially deadly materials like the ones we're talking about here in West?
Well, there's not been a lot of media attention, and specifically what media attention there has been hasn't been focused on the problems. There was a study put out by Media Matters earlier this week that showed over a 3-day period there were 63 cable news stories about the West Texas plant explosion. Only 2 of them mentioned that there were illegal amounts of ammonium nitrate in the plant, which was the source of the fire. So the media coverage that is coming out is not very good. It's being done mainly by small publications like my own and a number of print journalists, but it's a handful of us working on it, when this should be something that we as a journalistic enterprise are taking on.
And we should also note that the ammonium nitrate, again, that's the same chemical that Timothy McVeigh used in 1995 as well. So, Mike Elk from These Times magazine, thank you so much. I do appreciate the insight, and also I've enjoyed your reporting on this issue as well. We hope that you will continue it. When we come back, has Syria crossed that red line by the apparent use of chemical weapons in that country against its own people? And if it has, what does that actually mean when it comes to the American